Okay, in this video we're going to learn to write equations of circles and also graph circles. Okay, so first off, our equation for our circle is this, where HK represents the center and R represents the radius of your circle. Okay, the thing is, these minus signs means anytime I put a number in there, it's going to flip it to the opposite sign. So you're flipping your X and your Y value when you put it in, the sign of them, which you're going to see in a second. Okay, so this is going to represent my H, this represents my K. So I plop it in. X minus, I plop my H in. Y minus, I plop my K in. They're both squared, that gets us our circle, and I plop my radius in. Notice that all three things are squared. So if you notice, 1 changed to a -1. Two negatives make this a positive. My -8 changed to a +8. That's what I meant by double flip. And then you just have to tell me what 7 squared is. 49. So anytime you're putting them in, first off they're all squared, and then you're flipping the values 1 and 8. And you're not solving. Okay, center at my origin. So origin is 0, 0. So I've got x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to, in parentheses, the square root of 10 squared. Okay, well x minus 0 is just x, so I'm going to make him x squared. Y minus 0 is just y, so I'm going to make him y squared. If I type this in my calculator, because there's no number in front here that I need to square, these are just going to cancel and give me 10. So I don't want you to put any decimals in here. I want a radical, because radicals are going to simplify way better than decimals are. Okay, my diameter is 8, so that means my radius is 4. So I'm going to plop them in. X minus 4 squared plus y minus -1 squared is equal to 4 squared. So if I rewrite and simplify, I've got x minus 4 squared plus 2 negatives make it a positive, which means that when I plug it in should be its opposite, so it's a plus, and then 4 squared gets me to 6. So just be careful, if I give you the diameter, you got to convert it to the radius. Okay, so now if I drew this, this is the center of my circle, so -2, 4, and it's hitting the outside of my circle at -6, 7, right here. So I have the center, that's my HK. I need to find the radius. So what I'm going to do, I need to find that distance, is use my distance formula to find that radius, because it goes from the center to the outside. If I would have gone all the way across my circle, I would have to divide this answer by 2 to get the radius. So my first step is I'm going to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I'm going to plug it in. D equals, remember D stands for distance, my y2 minus my y1 squared plus x2 minus my x1 squared. I would type it in like that so I don't mess up any negatives. Okay, so I'm going to get that distance to be 5, which means my radius from center to outside is 5. Now I can use that center point. So x minus -2 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 5 squared. I change that to a plus sign. And then I write my 5 squared is 25. All right, so my next one, my center to my outside. Okay, so I don't have to divide it by 2. So I'm going to label first x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to get D equals, for distance, 4 minus 4 squared plus -3 minus 5 squared. I'm going to type it in my calculator just like that. So I'm going to get it to be 8 when I type it in, and then I plop it in. So x minus 5 squared with my center plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 8 squared. We'll make it 64. Okay, to B, I label x1, y1, x2, y2. So I've got D equals the square root of 0 minus -5 squared plus 0 minus -3 squared. I don't want a decimal. Okay, so if you get a decimal, type it in without the square root. If you type it in without the square root, you'll get 34, and then just attach them. Okay, the reason I do that is because if I take my center, so remember we flip them, so now it's x plus 3 plus y plus 5 squared is equal to, if I plug this in here with parentheses, just in case there's a number in front, it's going to cancel and just give me 34. So my answer is just going to be this. That's why we don't want a decimal, because decimals you guys round. All right, graphing. So we flip them when we put them in, we flip them when we take them out. So this is going to become a +4 and a -1. When I put it in, I square it, so the opposite of squaring is square rooting. So my radius is 3. So I go right 4, down 1, and I go out 3 every direction. So I go right 3, I go up 1, 2, 3 from my center, left 1, 2, 3, and down 3. And then create my circle. You just have to remember to flip both X and Y. Okay, so what's in there that doesn't change it? A 0, 0. We square root our radius to pull them out. So we get 2. So I start at the origin and I go out 2 every direction. Okay, I would pause the video and try this next one on your own before I start it up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and start it. So we flip both of them. So I've got a -4 now and a +7. We square root and get 5. So I go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. And there's my circle. Okay, 3 tornado sirens are placed strategically on a circle around a town so that they can be heard by all. Write the equation of a circle in which they are placed if the coordinates of the siren are these. Okay, so I'm not giving you the center. So first off, I'm going to graph them. So I'm going to make a shift graph here. Looks like the most left I go is -8. The highest I'm going to go is 7. All right, so left 8, up 3, there's A. Left 4, up 7, there's B. Left 4, down 1, there's C. So here's like the left side of my circle. All right, so first I need to find the center and I need to find my radius. So I can get a diameter pretty easy right here if I find that distance and divide it by 2. Okay, so I'm going to take B and C and find the distance, divide it by 2 to get my radius. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So D equals -1 minus 7 squared plus -4 minus -4 squared. Okay, so that's going to get me 8, but that was the diameter, so I cut it in half. My radius is 4. Now I have to find the center of my circle, so I need to find this. So I need to find the middle point, which we call the midpoint. So if I'm trying to find the midpoint, I need to find the average of my x and the average of my y. So what I do is I do x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's what we learned in Unit 1. So I need to do B and C again. So I'm doing -4 plus -4 divided by 2, and 7 plus -1 divided by 2. So I'm going to get -4 plus -4 is -8 divided by 2 is -4. 7 plus -1 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's my center. So I've got x plus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to, when I plot my radius in here, 4 squared will get me to 16, because remember when we're putting them in, they all have squares. Okay, so this next one is similar. So I'm going to graph to see what I have. Right 1 up 2 is R. Left 3 up 4 is S. Left 5, stay there, is T. So I'm going to use T and R a lot. So I'm going to do the distance of T and R and cut it in half, and the midpoint of T and R so that I can find the center. So let's do the midpoint first to find my center. So I'm going to do 1 plus -5, my x's, and 2 plus 0, my y's. Okay, 1 plus negative 5 is negative 4, divided by 2 is negative 2. 2 plus 0 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. Now I do the distance of those, so I label x1, y1, x2, y2. So D equals the square root of 0 minus 2 squared plus negative 5 minus 1 squared. Okay, so that gets me the square root of 40, and I still need to divide it by 2, depending on what calculator you have. You could get the square root of 10 when you divide it pretty easily. Depending on which calculator you have, it will simplify it very easily for you. It will say 2 square root 10, and then your 2's will cancel because we have to cut it in half. Okay, if you have the blue calculators, you have to go the uglier route. So this is my radius, and then I found my center. So I've got x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to the square root of 40 divided by 2 squared. Make sure when it prompts you for that parenthesis, you end it with that 40. Okay, when you type it all in, as long as you use parentheses, you should get 10 as your answer. Okay, for these last questions, I'm just going to give you the answers. If you have questions on them, you're more than welcome to ask me in class. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then I'm going to write all the answers in so you have something to refer to. All right, so these are the answers. This little guy says 12.25. I couldn't really get him in. So if you want to pause the video and try these on your own, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in class.